Sean here, and today I'm meshing three topics into one because I think they go together. The first one I'm going to talk about is the waste of time, the insincerity of hindsight apologies, because they are self-serving most of the time, and they are gaslighting. The two most common outcomes are shunning and ruined reputations. Most of the time it's ruined reputations, but sometimes it destroys lives. Those people at work who step on other people to get ahead. The people on the internet who don't like what someone else is doing, and rather than just ignoring it, they have to attack it. They have to try to shut it down. Now, in the heat of the moment, when you're making terrible decisions, and I promise this ties into Lorne Armstrong, when you're in the heat of the moment and you're making terrible decisions, but you know these decisions, they're more about destroying someone else than lifting you up and doing the right thing. You destroy that person, and then later on, either you get what you want or you crash and burn. You go back, you seek that person out, and you say, man, I'm really sorry, I did a bad thing, but you're already where you wanted to be. You've already accomplished what you wanted to, so your apology is insincere. And if what you wanted didn't work out after you ruined that other person, then you go back and it's self-serving. Oh, I'm so sorry, look at us now, and you start including them in your failure. Who does this sound like? Lorne Armstrong. Whenever he apologizes to any of these catfish women, whenever he does that, I don't regret what happened last night because it helped me. And we know why he does that partially. Because when he talks about, it helped me, it's, I already know what I did wrong. I don't want to hear it from you. I learned my lesson. Let's just move on. I'm not concerned about you. I'm concerned about me. The devastation I caused, the pain, the harassment, all of that, let's just put it in the past. Because me, I'm the one. I learned my lesson. It affected only me. So that's pretty much Lorne and hindsight apologies, which leads into his I apologize for the complete wrong reasons. Lorne constantly mentions, my head wasn't straight at the time. I wasn't in the right mind. Whatever the bullcrap is, how he rewords it. I just want to scream at him from the rooftops through a megaphone, riding Godzilla, and I still don't think he would listen. It wouldn't even be shock and awe. He'd just sit there like, oh, y'all don't know what you're talking about. If you weren't in the right frame of mind, Lorne, if you weren't thinking clearly, then every other time during your life that you made those mistakes, that you've done things wrong, you weren't thinking clearly. So if you add all of those up, Lorne, what does that add up to? It means you constantly make bad decisions. It means you are never in the right frame of mind, which completely invalidates your argument. Because if you had only made one mistake, you view it as, I only made that one mistake once. No, you only got caught once. And that's why you don't associate that with MySpace Molly and your other victims. Of course you weren't thinking clearly. And being able to spout that bullcrap to make yourself feel better, I'm sure that's a comfort to you. It's a nice warm blanket in your shit show of a life. You hear it in real life, you hear it in the movies. What were you thinking? I don't know. And Lorne's stuck on that. It's like on replay. You see this with criminals. Man, I don't know why I was doing what I was doing. But you were doing it for 20 years. Do you know how many seconds, hours, days? You had all that time to think about it. And you can't tell me it didn't cross your mind thousands of times. Unless you just accept that that's who you are. But Lorne can't accept that's who he is. That is the point I'm making. He cannot accept that he is the guy making those wrong decisions. So over and over again, it's, I don't know why I wouldn't think clearly. I wasn't in the right frame of mind. I ain't got no idea why I did what I did. And that's why he'll be stuck on level 1 for the rest of his life. He's never progressed. So if you are a therapist and you are trying to get through to this guy and you just can't seem to get him to understand, that not being in the right frame of mind, that's something that failures do. It's something that people do all of the time. It's an excuse you're going to hear. So you're talking to him and you're asking him, why did you do it, Lorne? Oh, I don't know, and then he starts to give the whole thing about macaroni and cheese. I was used, I was giving money. I didn't really want to go there. Why can't you see that? I wonder if he raged at his therapist. Just a question. Because he raged at whoever it was that was talking to him about drinking and NBC and everything else. So I wonder if he raged. There comes a point in every therapy session and the longevity of it, you have to hit a point somewhere where you do an evaluation. Now, I don't know. I looked it up. I couldn't find a definitive answer. How long a therapist is mandatory, how long their assignment is, what's their mandatory assignment, what's the period of time that they have to be with this guy, how long do they have to try before they give up. There are some times, like if you're talking to somebody and you're a psych or you're a therapist, and they're telling you all of their woes and their troubles, and you're hearing what the other side did. If you cannot sympathize or you can't relate, you can't put yourself on the other side of that, then you're going to struggle. You're stuck. And that's a real problem, because that's why couples therapy involves both couples. It involves them at the same time. I just realized I was talking about couples therapy and I said it involves both couples. What I meant was it involves both people. Geez, Sean, wake up. I did not sleep well at all last night. I wasn't in the right frame of mind. So if you're talking to Lorne and he's telling you about Paula and Nikki, he's telling you about everybody else, and you know he's a liar, and you can tell he's lying, and he contradicts himself. That's why I linked that Lorne Liar Armstrong. He just gets busted all of the time. Luckily, he's not smart enough to remember everything he said in the past, all of the lies. Because if he was, he'd be even more dangerous. So you're listening to him spout all of his bullcrap, and you're trying to put yourself in the shoes of the other person. You have a good feeling that he's lying. And the way he's talking, well, we were headed to a relationship. That's the first red flag. You're hearing about how someone is devastated. Devastated because a relationship that never took place. That woman was with another guy. And maybe you hear a little bit about how he showed up. I'm talking about Paula, of course, how he showed up at her house and her boyfriend was there. We all knew immediately what was going on. And I'm sure as a therapist, you would know exactly what this guy is telling you. Because hopefully by that time, a lot of times with sex offenders, they also do a little bit of stalking and harassing. And one of the reasons they do that, if they try to start a relationship with, God forbid, a kid, a teenager, even a grown woman, and it's not reciprocated, or they do something they know they're not supposed to have done. Let's say that. Lorne went through all of that with Kayla, realizes, oh my God, if she tells anybody, I'm going to prison. Because, I don't know, Lorne might have genuinely not thought, because he did tell Casey, it's okay to talk to kids about getting busy and everything that I talked about, my penis. He probably thinks the only reason he got in trouble is because he showed himself naked. But had it stopped right there after showing her himself naked on the camera for a long time and her telling her, she might say something like, I don't want to get in trouble, I need to cut this off, this is wrong. And hearing this is wrong would have set Lorne off, and him, she would have cut it off, and that wouldn't be good enough. And just like Paula and Nikki and all of the women he says, he would be contacting her nonstop. Why'd you cut me off? Blah, blah, blah. And you can't tell anybody. Don't you tell anybody. Those kinds of behavior, they usually come out when you're talking to somebody. You can sense them. I didn't want to go completely off on a Kayla tangent, but I think you know what I mean. I think you can see how these guys who get easily attached, who start these imaginary relationships, like the guy who killed himself after he sent a bomb to New York because he thought they were going to be reunited in the afterlife. there are some real sickos. You're one of those weirdos. So I'm sitting across the table from, say, Wendy's boyfriend / husband. And he's talking to me about Cybersqueak. Now, this is a situation that could have been real. They were on stream together. They clicked. And in his head, now this is all fictitious, of course, before you flame away in the comments. In his head, that was a connection. That was a real connection. And you know how you have witty banter back and forth? Somebody like Lorne, and we're going to pretend that Slash is a little like Lorne, not to the full extent. He may have mistaken that banter for flirting. You know, you were flirting with me, you know it was more than flirting. And if it's Lorne, he's going to start to melt down on streams. He's going to be talking about Cybersqueak a little bit. It's going to progress until finally it just becomes vitriolic. And he starts playing the victim. This is exactly what would have happened if Lorne was a prominent member of the Lorneography community talking to another female who is also a well-known prominent figure of the Lorneography community, at least the good kind, the YouTube kind. So he would be harassing her. Now with Nikki, I don't know the situation. Again, if you do, if somebody gets the honor and the privilege of speaking to her, I would love to know when it stopped and then what the behavior was immediately after it stopped. We all know, we know what it was. So if I'm the therapist and I'm hearing him, even if he spins it like, well, I left her all these gifts, I tried to be nice, you would know, okay, there's a problem with him. He doesn't understand boundaries. And then when he refused to go see a male therapist, or he talked about them in ways that just set off red flags again, you could see this guy does not like other men. If you're a woman, you also have to wonder, is he making me uncomfortable? Is he making me uncomfortable enough where I can't handle it anymore? That guy, that monster sitting across from you with the horrible teeth and the creepy manner, can you imagine the out of the corner of his eye looks that he'd be giving these female therapists like he was to Emma when she showed up? He was constantly looking. He was very uncomfortable. I would imagine there would be some form of attachment that you would start to feel, like he would start to cling to you. He definitely has mommy issues. We've discussed that. Latches on to women immediately. Love me. Latest Casey call. She's like, should I let you go? No. You could hear the desperation in his voice. Please don't let me go. I don't want to disconnect because I don't know when we'd be able to connect again. You would pick that up as a therapist. And if you put yourself on the other side, you have to be empathetic, sympathetic to a point. But say you put yourself on the other side in the shoes of those women. And again, you're a female therapist, and you're looking at it as they would, and you start to feel that fear, and you're now more concerned with those women and their welfare than this unrepentant pedophile stalker that's in your office. It might be time to pass him off to somebody else. And if I'm a state, I'm going to put him with a man. Lorne doesn't get to choose his therapist. That's another problem with him. We know he thinks they're there to help him and not to protect the rest of the community. Lorne thinks he gets to choose his therapist, like this is a free market, like it's an open market. And he can just go to somebody that's going to tell him what he wants. The state, Lorne, gives you somebody that they think can best handle your case. Sometimes it's the only person available. Yes, that is correct. But they do an evaluation on you, and then they try to place you with the correct person. And if that correct person cannot handle you, it is their job to find the correct person that actually can. It is not your job to decide whether or not you're being helped. It's their job to determine whether or not you're being helped. And that is another one of your problems, Lorne, with the I wasn't in the right frame of mind. Well, I just can't seem to find myself. I don't think I'm being helped. I don't think I'm getting any better. This therapist sucks. I need to request a new one. Y'all got any female therapists? That's why his apologies mean nothing, going back to what we talked about in the beginning. He's not going to apologize for the right reasons. Lorne does things he thinks other people want when he's in trouble. So he's sitting in that therapist's office telling her what she wants to hear because he doesn't want her to see the monster that he is. So he's going to give her the abridged version, and all of the stalking, he's going to give her the abridged version. He doesn't understand that he's been making the same stupid mistakes because he was never in the right frame of mind. People who do bad things, of course they're not in the right frame of mind. They know the difference between right and wrong, and we know Lorne knows the difference. He just chooses to ignore it. So if you put him with a therapist who's not telling him exactly what he wants, he doesn't feel like he's getting any better because he still believes what he wants to believe. So if he hears that what he believes is not true, he's going to want a new therapist. And that therapist, if they can't put themselves in the shoes of the people on the other side, of the real victims, or they just don't understand the entire situation, find somebody who does, who may have had life experiences that match this, and then let them deal with Lorne Armstrong. That's my video for today. I love you guys. I will see you in the next one.